just watched Elio. The animation's gorgeous, the kid's likable, the alien sidekick gets some laughs, it's perfectly decent family entertainment. But here's what I couldn't shake. It felt good. Not magical. That's the problem with Pixar now. Good used to be the floor. Magic was the standard. I grew up with Pixar. Actually, wait. Toy Story, Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Ratatouille, WALL-E. These were events. You remember where you were. You remember crying in that theater. You remember walking out feeling like you'd seen something that mattered. Even in the 2000s, they could still pull it off. Coco destroyed me. Soul was genuinely one of Pixar's best films ever made. Then came the post-COVID era. Turning Red felt average, Elemental felt average, Lightyear was genuinely bad, and now Elio, which is mid. Here's the gut punch. Elio made $154 million worldwide on a $150 million plus budget. Lowest opening weekend in Pixar history. It lost money. So what changed? Pixar set an impossible standard. Now even their good films feel like failures. But there's something deeper happening. They fundamentally changed how they tell stories. The box office is rejecting it. Let me show you what happened. Hey guys, I'm Mac from Scene Shift. Today we're breaking down the hidden storytelling shift that ruined Pixar's golden age. Let's go. Pixar started in 1979 as a tech division inside Lucasfilm. They were engineers building computers. They created 3D effects for Star Trek II. Those little demo animations like Luxo Jr., the hopping lamp, were never meant for audiences. They were sales pitches for hardware. People loved them anyway. In 1986, Steve Jobs bought the company for $10 million. Disney commissioned 3 films. The first was Toy Story in 1995. $350 million worldwide. It kicked off the most dominant run in animation history. Between 1995 and 2010, Pixar released 11 films. 10 scored above 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up, Toy Story 3. Every year brought a new world. Every film felt like an event. Box office average ran between $600 and $900 million per film. Disney bought Pixar in 2006 for $7.4 billion. Pixar stayed separate, kept their name, their studio, their culture. Things started shifting in 2018. John Lasseter, the creative chief and co-founder, left following misconduct allegations. Pete Docter took over as chief creative officer. COVID hit shortly after. When Pixar returned to theaters in 2022, something was broken. Lightyear bombed. Elemental had the worst opening weekend in Pixar history. In 2025, Elio continued the trend. Post-COVID theatrical releases averaged between $100 and $400 million. That is half what they used to make. Before we figure out what broke inside Pixar, we need to understand what changed around them. In 2018, the entire animation industry shifted overnight. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse arrived. Sony redefined what animation could look like. They blended 2D and 3D animated on twos. For comic book choppiness, used halftone dots, varied frame rates, comic book sound effects, flying across the screen. It looked like nothing before it. It won the Oscar. Suddenly, every studio went stylized. DreamWorks followed with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, painterly textures, exaggerated expressions, characters that looked like moving paintings, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, Bad Guys, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The entire industry moved toward bold stylization, away from photorealism, toward artistic expression. Pixar took the opposite path. They kept perfecting realism, rendering photorealistic water, simulating every strand of hair, making environments look like actual photographs. The technical achievement was staggering. Next to Spider-Verse's kinetic energy, though, Pixar's clean aesthetic started feeling safe, corporate, expensive, but not exciting. That's the backdrop. The industry moved. Pixar stayed still. The visual stuff is surface level. The real change happened in the stories themselves. To understand that change, we need to talk about what made Golden Age Pixar special in the first place. The premises were high concept, clever. What if toys had feelings? What if monsters were scared of children? What if a rat wanted to be a chef? These were stories wrapped in clever what-if scenarios. The irony created instant comedy and conflict. A rat who wants to cook? That's funny. That's ironic. Rats shouldn't be in kitchens. Instant conflict in comedy. A scary monster terrified of kids? Funny and compelling. A superhero sued for saving people? Satirical. Smart. A toy who thinks he's a real space ranger? The entire joke of Buzz Lightyear. The directors found emotions everyone understood, jealousy, fear, ambition, loneliness, and wrapped them in fantasy worlds everyone could enjoy. Andrew Stanton didn't lose a child when he made Finding Nemo. Brad Bird wasn't a superhero when he made The Incredibles. These were built outward from feelings everyone has. Under Pete Docter's leadership, the creative philosophy shifted. The question changed. Instead of what's a clever premise everyone can relate to, it became what's your personal story? What's your own life experience? Pixar films became personal life stories. Luca is director Enrico Casarosa's childhood memoir of summers in Genoa, Italy. Turning Red is director Domi's own story of growing up Chinese-Canadian in Toronto in 2002. Elemental is director Peter Sohn's parents' story as Korean immigrants in New York. Onward is director Dan Scanlon processing his father's death. He actually had only a brief audio recording of his dad, just like in the movie. Directors started making films about their own lives first. The irony of the early films, that gap between character and situation, was replaced by sincerity, earnest emotion, raw autobiography. And here's where things get tricky. Personal stories can absolutely work. Coco is culturally specific Mexican Day of the Dead traditions, and it made $807 million worldwide. Soul is deeply philosophical and abstract. I genuinely think it's one of Pixar's best films ever. So autobiography isn't the problem. The problem is what happens to the story structure when you prioritize personal experience over what actually makes stories work for everyone. Every great story operates on two levels. The outer plot, what happens physically, what you can see and touch. The inner arc, what changes emotionally, what happens inside the character's head and heart. In Golden Age Pixar, these two elements were locked together like gears in a machine. The outer journey forces the inner change. You cannot separate them. Look at Finding Nemo. Marlin's inner problem is being overprotective. His wife and children were killed by a barracuda. He's suffocating Nemo with fear. That inner flaw gets turned into a massive physical quest. His son is kidnapped. Taken across the ocean, Marlin must cross from the Great Barrier Reef to Sydney, the most dangerous journey imaginable for a clownfish who's afraid of everything. There's a countdown clock. Nemo is in a fish tank, the dentist's niece is coming, she kills fish. If Marlin doesn't reach P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney in time, Nemo dies. That specific address becomes everything. Concrete, physical, urgent. Now watch how every obstacle attacks his flaw directly. He meets Dory. She has no memory to succeed. He must trust someone completely unreliable that attacks his need for control. They encounter sharks. He must swim into danger instead of fleeing. That attacks his fear. When they encounter jellyfish, Marlin tries to control Dory by making it a game with rules. She races ahead recklessly anyway, gets knocked unconscious. Marlin rescues her while getting badly stung himself, forced to let go of control to save her. They ride the ocean current with sea turtles. Crush. The turtle lets his kids take risks. You can't hold on to them forever, Crush says. Marlin watches the baby turtle get thrown around and survive. Physical proof of the lesson he needs to learn. By Sydney, outside pressure has forced him to change. The final test? Nemo is caught in a net. Marlin must trust his son to swim down into danger, the one thing Marlin's feared since the barracuda attack.
We have to tell all the fish to swim down together!
I am not gonna lose you again!
Dad, there's no time!
You're right.
He lets go. Nemo succeeds. The outer journey forces the inner change. Turning Red begins differently, but there's no outer quest forcing that growth. The plot is May wants to go to a concert. The danger is Mom might find out about the panda. The stakes are social embarrassment. Compare Marlin's goal, reach a specific address across an entire ocean before your son dies, to May's goal, go to the concert. One is epic, life or death. The other is personal, relatable for some, but small. There's no villain, no countdown clock of real danger. The conflict could resolve through conversation. That's exactly what happens. The ending is crying at the concert, apologizing, hugging. This is emotionally valid. That scene is genuinely touching. The film speaks powerfully to girls navigating overbearing parents.
I hurt her, my mom!
I got so angry. It's control.
But structurally, it's therapy, not adventure. The same pattern shows up everywhere. Soul Joe's goal is finding his spark. Abstract, internal, no physical thing to chase. Elemental Wade and Ember's goal is being together despite being different elements. A relationship goal, internal, social. When characters chase feelings instead of things, plots wander instead of charging forward. And this connects to something crucial about goals. In Golden Age Pixar, characters had incredibly specific, measurable outer goals. Return Buzz to Andy, travel to Peasham and 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney.
42 Wallaby Way, Sydney?
Sydney.
Move the house to Paradise Falls. These are specific. You know exactly when they're achieved. Modern Pixar goals are vague. Find my spark. Honor my parents. Control my emotions. How do you know when you found your spark? When you've honored your parents enough? These are feelings, not finish lines. Without clear finish lines, stories lose direction. Here's why this divide matters for audiences. Finding Nemo works for everyone, everywhere, immediately. A father searching for his lost son across an ocean? Instantly gripping, regardless of background. Everyone understands that danger. Turning Red works intensely for people who lived that exact experience. Growing up with strict immigrant parents, navigating cultural identity as a teenager. For them, it's deeply personal and magical. For audiences who didn't share that experience, though, the lack of outer stakes means there's nothing else to grab onto. No physical journey everyone can follow regardless of their background. Coco proves the difference, culturally specific autobiography. Director Lee Unkrich's deep love of Mexican Day of the Dead traditions, but it wraps that specificity around structure everyone can follow. Miguel is trapped in the land of the dead. Countdown clock, sunrise. If he doesn't get his family's blessing and return before dawn, he'll be stuck forever. He must journey through the afterlife, uncover a family mystery, confront Ernesto de la Cruz, a villain actively trying to stop him. Get the photo, get the blessing, return before sunrise, or disappear forever. The specific Mexican culture makes it richer, but it doesn't replace the adventure. The structure works for everyone. That's why Coco made $807 million, while Elemental, which had only the inner immigrant story without the outer quest, had Pixar's worst opening ever. And when you lose outer stakes, you lose something else crucial too. The structure of rock bottom. In Golden Age Pixar, rock bottom was always a physical trap combined with emotional defeat. The crisis forced desperate action. Toy Story, Woody and Buzz are in Sid's milk crate. The moving truck is leaving. They're about to be left behind forever, while also watching Woody's jealousy finally destroy everything. Physical trap plus emotional devastation. Toy Story 3. The toys slide into the incinerator, about to burn alive. They hold hands and accept death. Nothing they can do. The ultimate physical trap combined with accepting the end.
I am not a crybaby.
Toy Story 3?
The toys were holding hands in a furnace.
The Incredibles. The family is captured in Syndrome's base, held in energy beams. Mr. Incredible believes he got them all killed, trapped and broken. Being physically trapped creates pressure, forcing the breakthrough. Modern Pixar's rock bottom moments happen in emotional spaces. So, Joe sits in his apartment realizing he's still unsatisfied. Not trapped, just sad. The crisis is an internal realization. Turning Red. May and her mom argue after the panda secret is revealed relationship strain. No physical trap, just emotional distance. One forces desperate action. The other waits for understanding. But losing outer stakes is only half the issue. The worlds themselves changed. Golden Age Pixar took familiar real places and revealed hidden logic. Toy Story, your bedroom from a toy's view. The rules are real. Toys freeze when humans look. They're affected by real gravity. The danger is physical, being thrown away, broken, left behind. Monsters, Inc. Monsters are blue-collar workers clocking into an actual factory. The world runs on recognizable rules. Screams power, the city through pipes and machinery. The factory is physical. The doors are physical portals to real bedrooms. Finding Nemo. The ocean with actual animals, predators, geography. Marlin navigates using landmarks. The East Australian current is real. Every location follows ocean rules we understand. These worlds feel solid. The fantasy toys are alive. Monsters exist is added onto real things we understand. Modern Pixar builds worlds from feelings and concepts. Inside Out. The entire world is made of emotions. Long-term memory is a library of glowing orbs. Personality islands float in a mindscape. Abstract thought is a geometric dimension where characters become shapes. Visually creative, clever as a concept, but it requires constant explaining. The first 20 minutes explain how this internal world works, and because it's pure symbolism, the rules bend to serve feelings rather than following consistent logic. Soul goes further. The Great Before is an office-like afterlife where souls get personalities assigned. The zone where lost souls wander the great beyond. Each area has different rules requiring explanation. When your world is pure symbolism, you spend time explaining instead of exploring. And because these worlds lack real grounding, stakes feel less urgent. Finding Nemo. If Marlin doesn't reach Sydney, Nemo dies. Real, permanent, final. Everyone understands that immediately. Soul, if Joe doesn't return, his soul gets recycled. Where? What does that mean? Symbolic threats require understanding the world's rules first. This is why symbolic worlds work better for thinking than adventure. Soul invites contemplation about life's meaning, beautiful and thoughtful. Finding Nemo forces you to grip your armrest because the danger feels real and immediate. The visual style shifted too. Golden Age Pixar had variety in character design. The Incredibles featured angular, sharp designs influenced by Brad Bird's aesthetic. Ratatouille had distinct, exaggerated features, skinny noses, grotesque expressions for some characters. Modern Pixar adopted bean head design, extremely round, soft faces, large eyes, simplified gummy aesthetics. Luca, Turning Red, Elemental. It feels less sophisticated than Pixar's earlier character designs. And it breaks visual continuity. For 20 years, audiences associated Pixar with grounded, believable characters. The recent aesthetic reads to some as looking cheaper. The settings changed too. Golden Age Pixar built timeless worlds, Finding Nemo, the ocean, A Bug's Life, nature, Monsters, Inc., a fantastical city, The Incredibles, and anachronistic 1960s aesthetic. These felt detached from specific time periods, immersive, escapist. Modern Pixar is set in recognizable contemporary places. Turning Red, Toronto, 2002. Soul, modern New York City. Inside Out, San Francisco. Modern architecture. Cell phones. High schools. This grounds films in mundane reality. Relatable, sure, but it lacks the escapist magic of hidden worlds. The shift makes movies feel less like transportive experiences and more like reflections of daily life. Even the dialogue changed. Early Pixar scripts were timeless. They deliberately avoided modern slang and pop culture references. Toy Story doesn't reference 1995 politics. The Incredibles feels like a noir film, not specifically 2004. Modern Pixar absorbed modern vernacular. Characters use Gen Z slang, self-aware quips. And the biggest change? Explicit, emotional, explanation. Characters now state their feelings directly. "I'm just an anxiety," says Anxiety in Inside Out 2.
I'm sorry, I can get ahead of myself. I'm anxiety. I'm one of Riley's new emotions.
In Soul, Joe explains the theme through dialogue. The subtext became text.
I'm gonna live every minute of it.
In the past, Woody acted out his jealousy. You understood through behavior. Now characters explain their trauma in monologues. This dates the movies instantly. Even the music changed. The Pixar sound was defined by Randy Newman, Thomas Newman, and Michael Giacchino. Warm, orchestral, jazz-infused. Soul brought in Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, brilliant composers, won an Oscar, but their sound is electronic ambient, cold compared to Pixar's warmth. Now here's where I need to be fair. There's another perspective worth considering. For younger audiences, especially Gen Z, the therapy cinema era might actually be exactly what they want. We live in an incredibly chaotic world. Social media constantly comparing you to others, economic uncertainty, climate anxiety, political division, school shootings, pandemic, trauma, constant pressure to perform, optimize, be perfect. In that context, a low-stakes movie about a girl hugging her mom at a concert might be exactly the comforting, conflict-free escape some audiences actively crave. The modern films are saying something important. Your feelings are valid. Your anxiety is real. It's okay to struggle with identity. You don't need to save the world. You just need to understand yourself. That's powerful for a generation drowning in expectations. These films are beautifully made. Animation is stunning. Emotional intelligence is sophisticated. Turning Red captures the specific texture of being 13, the embarrassment, the intensity of friendships, the clash with parents. in a way few films ever have. For audiences connecting with that specific experience, these films are magic. I'm not saying the new approach is wrong. I'm saying it's different. That difference creates a divide. One type of story appeals broadly, the other appeals intensely to specific groups. Both are valid, but only one creates billion-dollar theatrical events. The data proves it. Inside Out 2, a sequel audiences already loved, made $1.6 billion, highest grossing animated film ever. Elio, a personal, symbolic, low-stakes original, made $154 million and lost money. Behind this creative shift, there's institutional change too. The legendary Brain Trust broke apart after John Lasseter left in 2018. The Brain Trust was Pixar's secret weapon. John Lasseter, Andrew Stanton, Pete Docter, Brad Bird, Lee Unkrich, directors giving each other brutally honest feedback, peer review. No one could force changes, but everyone's opinion carried weight because they'd all made massive hits. After 2018, key figures left. Andrew Stanton stayed, but focused on other projects. Brad Bird moved away. Lee Unkrich retired. The peer review system became more centralized around Pete Docter. The culture of brutal honesty, designed to tear down flawed scripts and rebuild them stronger, became gentler, more protective of directors' personal visions. That's good for supporting diverse voices and first-time directors. Domei Shi, Kemp Powers, Enrico Casarosa all got chances they might not have gotten before. But it also meant some films moved forward with structural issues the old Brain Trust might have caught. Pacing problems, unclear goals, weak stakes. By trying to protect everyone's feelings, they accidentally left the stories fragile. And there's one more factor: Disney+. Historically, Pixar movies were theatrical events, released once a year, scarce special. That scarcity created value. Then Disney launched Disney+ and needed content to retain subscribers. 3 consecutive Pixar films, Soul, Luca, Turning Red, went straight to streaming during COVID. This retrained audiences. People learned Pixar movies are free if you wait, and Pixar movies are for home viewing. The brand became associated with the small screen instead of the big screen. The specialness disappeared. When Pixar returned to theaters with Lightyear, it bombed. Elemental struggled in its opening weeks. Audiences had lost the habit of theatrical attendance for Pixar originals. Inside Out 2 proved audiences still want Pixar magic, $1.6 billion. But it was a sequel, familiar, safe. Where does that leave us? Pixar isn't dead. The talent still exists. They proved it with Soul and Coco. Films that balanced personal vision with structure everyone could follow. They've lost something along the way, though. They prioritized authenticity over adventure, therapy over quests, inner realization over outer triumph, sincerity over irony. In doing so, they created films that work beautifully for specific audiences, but struggle to create the magic that once spoke to everyone simultaneously. The path back is clear. Start with emotions everyone has. Wrap them in clever, ironic premises. Give characters specific outer goals with real stakes. Force inner growth through outer adventure. Build worlds with real rules everyone can understand. Use cultural specificity to enrich stories, not replace structure. Make us feel something by taking us somewhere. Pixar at its best isn't just good movies. It's the feeling that anything is possible. That stories can make you cry and cheer in the same breath. That animation can speak to everyone, everywhere at once. They can still do it. Soul proves it. Coco proves it. Inside Out 2's $1.6 billion proves audiences are desperate for that magic. They just need to remember how to build it. I believe they can. Let me know your favorite Pixar movie down in the comments. Thanks for watching Scene Shift. Drop a like, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.